Good morning, everybody. We will get started in just a moment. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Here in Maryland, we have a gray and gloomy and a little chilly morning. It's officially fall, I think, is here to stay, but I'm sure Mother Nature will prove me wrong with that in a few days. This morning we are going to be working on our, good morning, we're going to be working on our Erin Crossbody bag. This is the Kimberbell dealer design exclusive for October. Now with this design, it comes in two sizes, okay, and you can have it with or without a handle. My favorite part of the design is going to be the fact that it is one thread color, if you want it to be. I'm going to do the whole design in Isacord number 861. Kind of blends and coordinates with the background fabric. There is some prep work that is needed for this design, okay? One of which, like I said, is picking the design size. And it comes in two sizes. It's 5x7 or 8x12. Now, most of my Bernina owners, you're going to think, oh, maxi hoop. And when you go to open it in your maxi hoop, it's going to be too big, okay? So I'm gonna show you how to reduce the size of it. We just need to shrink it about 5%. It's just the outer corners because of our oval hoop that we need to just bring in a little bit. Going to shrink about 5% and it will fit in your maxi hoop. So it's not a big deal. And then we will have to make a decision of handle or no handle. If you are going to attach a handle to this project, you will need to prep your handle before you start embroidering, okay? We will definitely need the handle pieces at least by the second hooping for the project because this project is 2 hoopings. We're going to quilt and make the back of the bag, and then we're going to make the front of the bag and attach them all together. So when we do that, we need to have the strap pieces ready for inserting into the front half of the bag. So there is a little prep work besides just cutting, but actually sewing, assembling and sewing the handle. Okay, so the next thing that I want to look at is what fabrics go where, okay? Because that can be a little challenging if you're looking at the cut chart and not 100% sure. Fabric number 1 in your project is the outside of the bag. So it's what your embroidery is on above the zipper and the back of the bag. Now you could very easily modify this and make the back of the bag a different piece of fabric, but all of those sizes are going to fall under fabric number 1 cutting chart in the instructions. Fabric 2 is the lining, which you can't see here. Fabric A, okay, or fabric 3 is where I have this applique shape A. I have it marked for you here. And then it goes on with fabric 4, 5, 6, 7, and then fabric 5 is actually in 2 locations. Again, you could make that another fabric color. The cutting information is found under fabric 5, and this would be piece F, would be these 2 bottom petals. If I moved my face out of the way, would be these 2 bottom petals on your purse, okay? So you could introduce that as a 6th fabric for them, or 6th applique color. It's completely up to you. You need to cut all of your applique shapes, okay? So A through F are going to be cut from the fabrics, and you will also then need to interface them on the wrong side with fusible woven lining. Okay, so just so you can see, so here are my applique shapes, and on the wrong side of each of them is a piece of fusible woven lining. Okay. There is no fusible woven lining that goes on the actual bag. There is two pieces of project batting or batting that you're going to want to use or will need for the actual bag assembly portion. But just the applique fabrics are going to get your fusible woven in it. Now, if you've purchased the kit from us here, okay, in the kit you have, whether you're doing the 8x12 or the 5x7, you have enough fabric to do one of the two sizes. And honestly, you will have enough applique fabrics to make a second bag of either the smaller one or a larger one. You'll have almost enough of the applique fabrics to do a second bag. Okay, you would just need lining and outside. All right, so let's look at quickly a few other steps of prep work that we need to do. Okay, we want to take the below zipper lining. Okay, the below zipper lining for this project is 9 by 11.5, and we are going to, let me get that, fold the top edge of this zipper lining down a 1/2 inch, okay, on one of the short edges. Doesn't need to be on both, just one. We're going to fold to the wrong side. In the kit, the lining is a solid, so there is no right or wrong side to it. And then we're going to repeat the same thing on the above zipper lining, which is a 2 by 9 rectangle. We're going to fold down a 1/2 inch to the wrong side along one long edge. Okay, and then we'll set that to the side for that prep work that's there. And if you are going to make your handle, the handle gets constructed just like any other handle that you've made in the past, with not just Kimberbell, but with pretty much anyone. You're going to take your two strap fabrics. If you're doing the large bag, the 8x12 bag, that's two 3-inch pieces. And if you're doing the smaller bag, it's two 2-inch pieces. We're going to place them right sides together, forming a 90-degree angle, just like if you were joining binding together. We're going to draw a line from corner to corner. We're going to stitch on that line, trim a 1/4 inch away, press the seam open, and then fold the strap in half, wrong sides together, and press well. We want to get a center seam, okay, that's going there, because the next step is we're going to open this unit and we're going to fold the two long edges into the middle crease, okay, and that's going to get our raw edges to the inside. We're going to press that, and then we're going to fold the whole strap in half, and we're going to press it well. Okay, so you can see here. Once we've pressed the strap, I'll show it to you. We're going to top stitch down both long edges, the full length of the strap. Okay, so there he is. Once your strap is top stitched, we're going to take and cut two pieces off the end of the strap. Okay, so I'm going to do the 8x12 today in the video here. I cut two 2-inch pieces off the end of my handle. Okay, so here was my strap. I just measured over and I cut 2 and I cut 2, so that I have two 2-inch strap tabs. This is all that we actually need in order to assemble the bag. This rest of this will get used later once we have the bag made. Okay, but this is what we have to have prepped before we start that embroidery. Okay. This design is done in 2 hoopings. Okay. First hooping, we're going to quilt the back of the bag. Then we'll take that out and we will then load in the machine. Will open the second design, which will actually create the front of the bag. In my upper thread, you want the color that you want your quilting done out of. Okay, so you can see our quilt design. In our hoop, we're going to place a piece of light mesh cutaway stabilizer. And before we do any placement lines or anything, I want to show my Bernina owners how to get this to fit in their largest hoop. Now in my bobbin, you want to put either the same thread color that's in the top or a color that coordinates with your lining, but no, because we are in embroidery, you may see some of your top thread come to your backside, okay, in this quilting. So I would just make your top and bottom match as you set up your machine. Let's look at this design. Okay. So when my 7 series owners open this design, it's going to probably open up and look like this. It's going to default to this jumbo, and it's going to be red because these 2 little corners are going to stick out of the hoop. Now I'm sure that most of my 7 series owners don't have a jumbo hoop, so we're going to switch this over to a maxi. Okay, and we're going to modify the size of the design just enough so that it fits into this hoop. So I'm going to come into the eye so that we get our editing functions, and this icon right here is our resize icon. The lock here, this proportional lock, is locked. Okay, and we're going to leave it locked. If you leave it locked, as we shrink the design to get it to be skinnier, it's also going to get shorter. Okay, if you want to keep the height of your bag the height that it is here in the image, we're going to unlock the lock, and we're going to adjust the top width knob. And we're going to just turn the width knob just enough so that the design gets in the hoop and the red ring of our hoop goes away. Okay, so it's about 0.4 of an inch. Okay, you'll still have the same height. You're just going to be a little under a ½ inch narrower in the overall design. You want to take note as to the percentage that you shrunk this, because you're also going to want to shrink the second design the same amount. Okay, that way things match and fit. And then once you have that, you can hit the X in the upper right corner, and then we will be ready to embroider. Pretty easy. Let's head over to the machine here. I'm going to fix the camera. I had to back the camera up so that we could see all of the hoop today. We are going to run a placement line, okay, and this is going to tell us where to put our batting. So while that runs, I'm going to get a piece of project batting here. Now I'm working in the jumbo hoop on an 8 series machine, okay? If you're curious. We're going to place our batting over top of that line here, and I'm going to run the next color stop, which is going to tack it in place. You can tape it in place if you like. I usually, with the batting, I just kind of hold on to it. We're going to trim the batting close to this stitching line. So if you can see that my batting is just close enough here at the top. Just going to stitch around this twice. Let's see if I can't get it to grab that. There we go. And then we're going to come in with a pair of scissors of your choice, and we're going to trim the batting as close to that tack down line as we can. And then we're going to place our back fabric of our bag, which is 9 by 12.5. Right here. Has anybody put a zipper in with their embroidery before? Is this going to be a first bag that you've done? There are some other in the hoop bag collections in the Kimberbell vault that you can download. We'll put the link up to the vault here shortly. I am going to put my bag back, okay, right side up, covering all of the batting. It will be, this is my 9 by 12.5 piece, and I'm going to run the line to tack this in place. Once this is tacked in place, do not do any trimming, okay? Trimming not necessary. Leave it alone. We want it to be larger and held there while we add all the quilting. Because if we trim this and then quilt, and we've trimmed it so close that as it quilts, it kind of draws in, we actually can be short around the outside, and it will come out of our tack down stitch. All right, and then our next step, again, don't do any trimming. We're just going to hit the go button, and the machine is going to run the quilting detail. Okay, and it's going to quilt. Now, while the machine quilts, let me show you the vault. Okay, so you can access the vault from our website. So if you go to materialgirlsquilt.com and just kind of scroll down to the middle of the screen, you're going to find 4 options for Kimberbell. One is going to take you to the Me Time site. That's going to lead you to where you order Bella boxes, Perfectly Piece, the Christmas countdown boxes are all going to be from there. The Vault is where you find new as well as retired designs that are instant download. So if I click the Vault, we'll give it a moment for the Vault to load. Maybe. Or it'll just be easier. Let me go here. Maybe they are down this morning. So I'll wait to see if that loads. But anyway, while that is down, Kimberbell looks like their site at the moment is down, or at least I can't make a connection to it. You can do your designing from there. They have additional tote bag, zipper pouches and things like that. If you are fascinated with bringing that down and doing more in the hoop zippers, they're not hard at all. Okay. Now you're going to notice that after the quilting detail, they mention changing the thread color to a changing the bobbin thread to match the top thread, and you're going to stitch the registration marks, and you're going to change the thread color in general. This is going to be completely your choice. I don't normally match them. I will watch where it stitches, and I will then take a marker and mark that registration mark. Okay, so I would just take a heat erasable or a water marker and just mark over top of that particular placement line. If you want to change your bobbin thread so you can see it from the back side, but for me, I don't like changing a thread to the top to something that's more visible, just in case my alignment's not 100% right or something like that, and that ends up showing somewhere. I'd rather it not. So I'll change my bobbin thread to match, but we will to stand out, sorry. And then we will, yeah, it looks like Kimberbell's website's down at the moment, so I apologize for that. Takes about 15 minutes to run the quilting portion of this design. So even if you started your project with this, and then while your machine was running, you went and made your handle, that would be just fine as well. You just want to start with the back of the bag, not the part of the project that has the zipper installation. How is everybody today that's here? Thank you so much for joining me. What's up? How you been? What you been up to? What are you working on recently? Are you stitching along with me? Feel free to chat with us in the box, especially for these long runs. Keep me company. Oh, you're welcome, Miss Amy. Anytime. Yeah, when I popped it open this morning, because sometimes you can, especially in our world, we hear things, we hear design sizes 8 by 12. Well, my maxi hoop fits an 8 by 12, you know, but because we are in the world of Bernina, we have oval rounded hoops. We don't have rectangles and squares with sharp corners. That makes a difference. And so that's where this comes into play. And then the question is always, well, why can't we have square rectangular hoops? If you've ever looked at a square or had a rectangular hoop, there's always a weak point in the corner where the 90-degree corner comes together. And you really, it is the stabilizer and the fabric and things are not held as tightly in those corners as they really should be for embroidery. So that's the reason why in the world of Bernina we have these rounded hoops to try to keep more support in the corners of embroidery as the machine is embroidering. And if you watch the way that this is orange peel quilting that's happening here. This is exactly the way that you would quilt if you were doing this free motion or with rulers. The way that we travel in long S curves in both directions is how you would do this if you were planning to free motion quilt this design on a project. Good morning, Miss Laurie. How's the weather in Chicago? I think a large portion of the country is feeling like fall. So just as a reminder, the stabilizers that we're using for this particular project, I'm using OESD's fusible woven lining for interfacing the back of all of my applique fabrics. I'm using OESD's poly mesh for in the hoop, for actually embroidering on. Kimberbell's project batting being used for the actual batting of this particular design. Four more minutes to go and our quilting will be done. Ooh, I love it. 51, 52 and sunny. Yeah, it's in the 50s here. I'm not sure it's sunny. It was gray and gloomy when I left the house this morning, but it could have changed since I've walked into the studio. There's no windows back here, so I have no clue. Yes, Miss Amy, because the question was if I bring the design into V9 as an EXP, can I resize it here before the machine and save it? Yes, I would open it as an art file because they do give you art, but you can open the EXP, and because we're only shrinking it about 5%, it's not going to affect the integrity of the stitching. And really, because most of the stitching is just straight line, it's not a huge issue either. But yes, you could do it in embroidery software and save it. Without a problem. We got lots going on here today. I will be in the studio recording all of the videos for our virtual North Pole Tier Tray event with Kimberbell that's coming up here at the end of the month. So I have a big day of embroidery. There are 12 projects in that event. So I've never done, I mean, the video, Miss Pat, the video that played last night, or the recording that we had, the virtual recording we had last night, I have taught a class in tile scenes. I did teach a breakfast club, which is up here on YouTube as well. And I'll try to find, let me see if I can find that link here. Actually, I'll do this. This is a link to my website, which links to all of my virtual breakfast club lectures, and inside of there is a link to the video and the presentation. I discussed virtual tile scenes in December of 2020. So if you go there and click the link, it'll link you to the video, and you can also link the presentation. I have some information there as well for you on tile scenes, but I haven't really taught, it's been a while since I've taught a class where you're actually doing the tile scene. Okay. All right, quilting is finished. So the next step would be to change your upper and lower thread to something that you can see. I am not going to change my upper thread. Like I said, I prefer it to be neutral colored. I'm going to change my bobbin thread to something other than the neutral color. And we're going to stitch these registration marks. Yes, the video last night, Miss Pat, was open to everybody, and it is available. Oops. I don't think my bobbin picked up there. The link is still available for 24 hours, so that video is still open and functional until tonight at 5. One second. Let me see if I can get my bobbin to come up. Oh, let me check that. So yes, you can go back and watch it here today. We also have, they specifically in that video showed a lot of things in relation to the Haunted Hill tile scenes. So there is a step in Haunted Hill that uses top cover, and that is fairly new, or it could be a new technique for people. All right, there we go. So I'm stitching my registration marks. I'm watching where they're stitching, and I'm then just going to take my marker and mark them. And they doesn't look like they have them set up in the system to cut for some reason. So, not a big deal. It's actually easier that way, because then I can see exactly where my stitch registration mark starts and stops on the front of my project. Okay. So I can see here and there. Okay. I'm gonna trim those threads that didn't get cut. We're going to take this hoop off the machine, and we are going to unhoop. We're going to then rehoop with another piece of light mesh cutaway or poly mesh. Okay, so there's our project all quilted. My registration marks are marked, and I can see them here in the corner once I trim those threads. I'm going to change my bobbin thread back to neutral. Okay, pop that out. Yeah, in the video last night, tile seams are not difficult to stitch. They're not a hard project to stitch. What comes in to play is that it does use a lot of stabilizer, okay, because we got to keep that fabric flat after we add all that stitching to it. And then the most challenging part of tile seams comes from assembling it, because they are, you know, this fabric is full of that stitching and all of the threads and things like that, and we are trying to manipulate it. There has been some shrinkage from all the stitching and stuff, so it becomes challenging. The big thing last night, the big tip or the big takeaway that I took away last night was using the button clips for holding your tile pieces together while you're sewing. Using a pin you can't pin it together, it just doesn't work. But we always used Wonder Clips before that. And the button clips, the OESD button clips have a little stronger teeth to them. So they're guaranteed to kind of hold things together better. So I thought that was a really good suggestion. So we'll have to try that one next time. Okay, we have rehooped. I have opened the second file. That's the file that has the zipper portion on it. Okay, we are going to shrink the design. If you shrunk your first part, you need to go in and shrink your second part. We are going to open that up, stitch the placement line for our batting, and then place our batting on top of that placement line. All right. Do it this way. Nope. Okay. Get my other piece here. Oh, Miss Lori, I'm glad you enjoy Breakfast Club. And if you have any topics you want me to cover, be sure to share them, pass them on to me. We're generating a list. It'll help me make sure that I'm covering all the things that you all want to know. All right, I'm going to place my batting down here. Tack my batting in place. You will see in your stitching that the machine leaves a unstitched area. That is supposed to happen. There's anything wrong with the file. We need that to be undone so that we can trim the batting out for the next step. Okay. Now that that's finished, we're going to take the hoop off the machine. Okay. We're going to come over, we're going to do some trimming. Okay. We're going to trim around the outside edge. Now I only have extra batting here on the sides. My batting was just big enough to go top and bottom. And then we're going to trim the batting out from inside of that rectangle right there. Okay, so we're going to just the batting. Don't cut your stabilizer. Batting trimmed. Okay. She tells you in the instructions that you're going to leave that gap open, okay? So let me show you what it says, but she tells you not to trim this, okay? And then you put it back on and you stitch the placement line for the zipper, which is going to stitch this same rectangle, okay? If I have the hoop off the machine, why not do it at the same time? So I went ahead and trimmed it. I am running the zipper placement line now, but if before you took the hoop off the machine to trim the outer batting, if you wanted to go ahead and trim the zipper placement line, then you could take it off and remove. Feel free, but the overall goal here is the same. Okay. All right. So we've got our zipper done. Our placement line is stitched here. We've got everything trimmed out. We're going to take our zipper. Now, it doesn't have to be the exact size that she calls for. It just needs to be longer than, she calls for a 9-inch zipper. I don't particularly carry 9-inch zippers here in the store. So I have in the kit that if you purchase from me, is a 12-inch zipper, which is just fine. Okay, doesn't have to be 9, it can be longer because we are going to cut it. Okay. We're going to place the zipper inside of that open area. Okay, with the zipper pull to the left. and outside of that line, okay? So we don't want the zipper pull inside of here. We want it to be outside that line. And I'm just gonna kind of center it because I have more than enough space. And she shows you taping it, okay? You can tape it. I'll put some tape there. It's not necessarily what I do, but. So once it's taped in place, we're going to stitch the tack down, and then we're going to take the tape off. Make sure that you're not using a metal zipper either. You need this to be an all-purpose nylon polyester zipper, okay? Because the machine is going to stitch right through the end of that zipper. You don't want that to be metal, okay? You want the machine to sew right through it. Okay, we're going to remove the tape. And then we're going to take the hoop off the machine. And we're going to turn it over to the back side. And now we're going to cut the stabilizer off the back inside the zipper area. Okay. 1 second. And I will show you. So right now, this is the wrong side of my hoop. And my zipper is, I can't get to the zipper because the stabilizer is blocking it. And if I unzipped the zipper from the front, I wouldn't be able to put anything in my bag because it's going to run into stabilizer, okay? So we want to very carefully remove the stabilizer just inside the zipper placement line. Okay, we're not going all the way to the edge of the hoop. Okay, just from basically edge of the bag to edge of the bag. So that we'll be able to have access to the inside of our bag easily. So now I can see that, and if I unzip my zipper, I can get my hand through the hoop. Okay. All right, we are going to now look at starting to assemble our bag. We're going to take the zipper above front fabric. So that is this piece of fabric. We're going to the fabric that goes above the zipper on the front of our bag, which is a 2x9 out of our main fabric. I'm going to look and see which direction I want it to go, and I think I want it to be this way. And we're going to fold it right sides together. Okay. We are going to align the raw edge of this rectangle with the top of the zipper tape. Okay, just like that. Just gonna put a piece of tape or two here on the sides where the machine's not gonna stitch. We are going to stitch it, and then we're gonna flip it right side up, give it an iron, and then we're gonna tack it in place. Okay. It's on. We're going to stitch it in place. We're going to fold it up. You can use an iron if you like, and we're going to iron this so that it stays up nice and tight at the top. If you're going to iron this zipper, you don't want to set your iron on it too long. You don't want to melt it, but you know, it'll be just fine to press up against it. We just want to make sure that we're pulled all the way back across it. Set that down. And then if you want, you can, take a piece of tape and tape it up there to hold it. We are going to return it to the machine, and we're going to stitch the tack down. That's going to stitch basically the top section of the bag. We're not doing any trimming of fabric. Okay, we're just stitching it in place, and we're going to leave it. Miss Amy, I just have a regular 80-12 needle. I don't have any special needle in the machine. Okay. We're now going to repeat these steps with the front of the bag, the zipper below, what they call the below zipper fabric. Okay, this is like 9 by 11.5. I'm going to look at it, figure out which direction I want it to go, which I think is this way. And then I'm going to flip it up. I'm going to put it right sides together at the top portion of my bag. I am going to line it up so that the fabric lines up on the sides with where my top piece of fabric landed. And I'm going to stitch this in place. And then we're going to fold it forward. Pull it down. If you like, you can take the iron to it. I'm just going to finger press it, kind of pull this forward. We're going to stitch the next stop, which is going to stitch this in place around the edge. And I'm just going to kind of give it a slight pull down here at the bottom, just to make sure it's as tight as it will go. And our next step will be quilting. Now, once everything is tacked down, it's all good to go, we're going to quilt this bag. Take that piece of tape off. Now the steps for the 5x7 bag are the same. Nothing differs in 5x7. Oh, because my machine's not set to cut, so that's why. 5x7 and the 8x12 bag are identical in assembly. Just size is all that differs. While that stitches, it looks like Kimberbell's site is back up. They just added some new stuff this morning to the vault, being the embroider in the hoop, the machine piecing in the hoop. So this is paper piecing via embroidery machine, has been uploaded, and we have the crossbody sailboat. You have the just nautical stripes. There's one with an anchor. So I'm wondering if there's more. So let's see if we type crossbody. What may come up. Yeah, so there is those three, and then there is this trio, volume 2 trio, that has florals on it as well. So with or without handles, completely your choice. That's there as well, up on the vault to download. And these are, you may have these if you've been a Kimberbell follower for a long time. You may have these in your project stash, as they were actual design collections from previous years. Halfway through quilting. While that's running, I'm going to take my first piece here, I'm going to trim up all the excess stabilizer off of this bag. I'm not going to cut any of my fabric. Okay. That way that's all ready for when we need it. I love orange peel quilting. It's my favorite. Four more minutes of quilting. Now, when it comes to the appliques that we're going to be doing next, because the cover stitch on these appliques is a decorative stitch, it is highly suggested that the thread choice that you choose for your placement and tack down of your fabrics be the same as what you plan to cover stitch in. Okay, I'm actually going to use the same thread. that I've been using for all of this project to do all of my applique cover stitch in. But if you do want to change thread colors, you can. Just make sure that you do your placement and your tack downs in the same color, because otherwise there is a chance that you will see it through the decorative stitch that's used to cover the raw edge. Okay. Quilting is finished. Now we're gonna start appliquing. All right, so first thing it's gonna do is a placement line. I am going to get my first applique fabric, which is gonna be the light blue. See my placement line. I'm going to place the fabric right side up, covering all of that placement line. And we're going to tack it in place. The other reason for adding the fusible woven to the back of this is to keep this from showing to keep the pattern from the base fabric from showing through on this fabric. So that's mostly the reason that we use the fusible woven on the back side of this. Take the hoop off the machine here. I am going to trim my applique fabric as close to that stitching line as I can get. Don't stress too much about these deep inner points right here. Because you do have a decorative stitch that's going to go around all those raw edges. So at those points, those decorative stitches are really going to cover whatever you can't get trimmed. Okay, I'm going to return the hoop to the machine, and we're going to repeat this process, adding each of our applique fabrics. And the next one is going to be gold. The scissors that I'm using, these are Pickle Pie machine embroidery scissors. I'll see, let me see if I have a link, Miss Pam. I don't have any left in stock, but I will get some more just so you can see them. These are the ones that I'm currently using. I have a ton of scissors. These just happen to be the ones that I picked up today. I would not, I prefer duckbill scissors to trim, but a duckbill isn't going to let me get, I'm going to be limited with a duckbill scissor when we start getting into the points. So I just picked these up instead. The duckbill would be fine around this area.
Here's what I found.
Be quiet, Siri. Nobody asked you anything. Okay, and we're going to repeat. So back to the machine. We're going to run a placement line. And then next color is the darker teal-y color. Okay, tack that. I am pulling on this fabric to make it as taut as I can. I give it a little bit of tension. I think for me it helps me cut a little bit closer and a little bit cleaner when I trim appliques. Okay. Right, back to the machine. Next up is the green fabric. Yeah, if you hold on to that applique, kind of give it a little tension while you are trimming, it will trim a little easier. coming together. Back to the machine. Next unit, next fabric, the darkest blue. Oh, thank you, Miss Colleen. We do have kits still remaining for this project. And if you're not part of the Kimberbell group, you can also you can purchase this design. It's a digital download. It's sent to you in your Kimberbell account. At least no more than 24 hours after you order. Usually I'm pretty quick at getting them uploaded to your Kimberbell account. The last few days we've had some issues with technology, but I think everything is operating satisfactory now. Okay. We're going to trim this one. Be afraid to move your hoop around. We don't need to be a contortionist to get our arm to go the direction we need, or scissors to go in that direction. Okay. Last set of applique getting ready to go on. One more time back to the machine. We're going to repeat with that darker teal color. We are going to be offering this embroidery club in 2023 with Kimberbell. So we will be doing, they haven't announced what things are yet or how things are going to work for 2023, but they are going to be doing digital dealer exclusives. So we'll have these exclusive designs available, and we will be doing our videos and kits and everything for them as well. So we will continue this program into 2023. I think sometime this month they're supposed to introduce 2023's designs. Okay, last set of trimming, and then we're going to return the design to the machine, or return your hoop to the machine, and we're going to run a very long color stop of the decorative stitch that goes over this design, the raw edge of this design. Okay. There it is. We will return the hoop to the machine, and we're going to run the color stop that is going to run the cover stitch for this. It is one color. There's no changing colors based upon your design. So you can't have one set of color around one applique and one set of color around another. Miss Colleen, I haven't done any in person. Okay. I do the Kimberbell events in person. I haven't done any of the dealer exclusives in person. We just do them with these videos. But I do offer the Amy's Sewing Rooms. We have 4 this month in October. There'll be more in November. So if there's something that you're not maybe 100% comfortable doing or want some additional help because maybe you don't trust what you're doing on the machine, those classes are $20. They are from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Stay as long as you need. And you can work on whatever you want, and I'm here to help you. So it's kind of like a semi-private class with your project of choice. And so I'll be happy to work with you on any of these particular designs during any of the Amy's Sewing Rooms. I've been working with one of my other customers. She's been working on some of the previous months. We did the fish and dog bone little zipper pouch. She wasn't, she'd never done quilting or put a zipper in the embroidery hoop. So we did that together in the class. Okay, we have about 30 minutes of stitching here. We're just covering up the raw edge of all of our appliques. So if you have any questions about anything and everything, feel free to ask. I'll answer them. Keep me company while the machine runs. Because when I do these long color runs here during a live, at home I would be off doing like 14 other things while this machine ran, but I can't leave you, so keep me company. Or feel free to wander off and come back in about 27 minutes when we'll be ready to put our project together in the hoop. All right, so Miss Colleen, November, there'll be lots of Amy's Sewing Rooms in November. For this project as well, which I'm going to go hunt down, you're going to need some thumbtacks. You're going to need 4 thumbtacks for aligning this project. once we get everything assembled on the front of the bag. So, there they are. And you want thumbtacks that have a flat back to them. Okay, a standard thumbtack, not a push pin. Can actually purchase everything online for the bag. We still have kits available, and yes, if you don't want the design right now, you can purchase the design in December. They are available all the time on the website. And if for some reason it should state that they're out of stock, just send me a message from the chat box on the website, and I will make more available. I try to keep up on that, but there's an unlimited quantity of designs. Kits, on the other hand, is a limited quantity. Hit my steam button on my iron there. Now, in this project, in my kits, while the machine is running, I will talk. We are using a split ring, okay, for attaching the handle and the hardware, okay? You could use a D-ring. You're gonna need a D-ring that's like a 1/2 to a 3/4 inch D-ring. I think a 1-inch D-ring is too big for this, so we're just using a split ring. This will also allow us to get the hardware on after we attach this. So in a few moments when we attach this strap tab, if you're going to use a D-ring, that you will want to slide that D-ring in before we attach it to the bag. So I'll point that out when we get there, but if you are trying to determine hardware, that is what we are using for this project. halfway done. Uh-oh. Let's see. Oh, third break. Let's fix that. Maybe. 5 more minutes. Feeling my bobbin is going to run out, so I'm just going to go ahead and wind another one. Almost there, 2 minutes. Now when this color stop finishes, we're going to remove the hoop from the machine. We're going to get our lining pieces that are labeled below and above the zipper. Those are the ones that you have folded the 1/2 inch to the wrong side. And we're going to put them on the back of the hoop in just one moment. Okay. Yay! Thanks for hanging in there with me. If you're still here, following along. All right. Again, we're going to take the hoop off the machine. We're going to turn the hoop to the wrong side. And we're going to place the folded edge right below the teeth of the zipper. Okay. So let's change camera here so that you can see. Wrong side of the hoop. I'm going to place this folded edge right up here, right below the teeth of the zipper. Okay. And I want to make sure that I've also covered all of the tack down lines around the edges. For me, on this project, on this step, the most important sections of this are to hold down the corners, okay? Because we're going to take and return this to the machine, and we're going to stitch the tack down, okay? So I'm going to carefully flip this back over, take it back over to the machine, kind of feeling underneath as I put this on to make sure that nothing moved or folded over. And then we're going to run the tack down. Okay, so I've got it underneath of here. I can see it's taped. I can feel it from underneath. And I'm going to run the tack down. It's going to go down, around, and up to hold this in place. Now, once that is tacked in place, we're going to take the hoop off the machine. We're going to flip it over. We're going to, make sure that nothing has folded over in the lower half of our fabric that we just placed there. Because if anything is folded or didn't get caught, we need to fix that before we move forward. Okay. And then we're going to repeat the same steps with the above zipper. Okay, so here's my back pieces on. Everything is flat. There's no folded corners. So I'm going to take my lining piece, my folded edge, wrong sides together. I'm going to take tape off and reuse here along the edges, here, around the top. And then we're going to return this to the machine, and we're going to stitch the top section on. Next thing we're going to need is our tabs. If you are not doing tabs and you're not going to put a handle or anything on this project, you can actually skip color stops 25 and 26. Okay? But before I position these tabs in place, we are going to check to make sure that nothing here got folded over. Okay. So I'm going to make sure everything is exactly the way it should be here. We're good. We're going to run the color stop to tell us where to put our tabs at. Okay. I'm not going to change thread color. I'm just going to watch where it's going. And I can see so there's one. And there's two. Okay, I have my little placements. We're gonna come over here to the table. We're gonna take these little strap tabs. We're gonna fold them in half, and I want them to be the raw edge of the tab to be a 1/2 inch above the placement line. Okay, so I'm going to put this ruler here. This line is 1/2 inch, so the raw edge of my folded in half zipper tab is 1/2 inch above, and then I'm going to completely cover it with tape. Okay. By completely covering this in tape, you're going to keep your presser foot from wanting to run into it. If you need to, you can adjust the height of your presser foot in embroidery. And in a Bernina, we do that under its fabric thickness is where we find it. I'm not going to make an adjustment, but just in case you needed to know, you're going to touch the gear button. You go to embroidery, and it's this setting right here. It's actually fabric thickness. And then you can make the adjustment from 4, 7.5, or 10. Default's 4. I think we're going to be fine. If you're unsure, you could always take it to 7.5. That's up to you. I'm going to return this to the machine, and we are going to stitch that in place. All right, before we move forward, I want to keep the, excuse me, the tabs covered, but I want to trim off the corner here because it's going to run those registration marks like we did earlier, and I don't want them to be caught in tape. So I'm trimming that down just a tad so that it's not caught here. We're going to run the registration marks. Again, I'm going to leave my thread color the same up top but in my bobbin, I am going to change the thread color just in case I need to see it better. Let's grab that. And we're going to run the color stop. Color stop is going to run those same registration marks that we are going to use to align the back of the bag that we just stitched earlier. It's pretty much the corner of the bag. It's not difficult to be able to know exactly where these registration marks are, but I could see where it could get, you know, a little confused, but I have faith that you got it. Hi, Miss Tina. Hope you made it back safely and that you had a great time. Oh, you're welcome, Miss Pam. Okay, we're going to take this off the machine. We are going to come to the table, but before I start that and I forget, I'm going to change my bobbin back to regular thread color, because otherwise I'll forget. And not that it's a big deal, because technically it would be on the inside of the bag and nobody would see it, but while I'm thinking about it, I might as well do it. Here is where we're going to need our thumbtacks. Okay, we're going to take the thumbtacks from the back of the hoop, and I'm just trimming up these threads here. Give me 1 second, because I hate thread tails. Okay, we're going to take these thumbtacks and we are going to place them directly in the corner of that placement line on each corner. Now, the other thing that I can recommend doing is we're going to be flipping this hoop right side up again. And if your thumbtacks are loose, they're going to fall right out the moment that you flip this over. So if you have, you know, pieces of tape that are laying around, I would take a piece of tape and tape over top of the thumbtack so that when you flip this hoop over right side up in a minute, your thumbtacks don't fall out. Okay. So just so you can see, here is, we've got on the back of the hoop, we've got a thumbtack in each of the stitched registration marks. And for the most part, when you flip your hoop right side up, you should have that thumbtack coming up right in the corner of the registration mark that you have marked on the front of the hoop. We're going to, the most important part of this whole project, unzip your zipper to about halfway before you do the next step. Okay. We are going to take our quilted fabric. Now, if you had a directionality to your fabric, before you take it out of the hoop, they have you mark a letter T to it. For me, there's really not a top or bottom to this particular fabric. But if you do have it marked with a T, T is going to go up here at your zipper. And you are going to make that thumbtack come out right in the corner of that registration mark. Okay. Now there is going to be some shrinkage, okay? And you just have to kind of pull it. And if you need to, I would recommend taping things down as you go so that when you come over here and start pulling on this one to get that registration mark to line up, you don't pull the positioning off the other pin. Because tell me how I know. And see, this is why, the other reason why I don't like to put a colored thread on front, because there's no guarantee that this is going to line up exactly to where I want it. Put my arm down here. Don't stab yourself with all these thumbtacks. Okay. I'm going to be happy with that. All right. So thumbtacks all in. Tape everything up. I would put some tape here because you're going to be removing these thumbtacks. So I want to make sure that everything is taped. Okay. We're going to remove the thumbtacks. So I'm going to flip this over. We're going to now return this to the machine, and we are going to stitch this shut. Okay, so just make sure that you've got your zipper moved to the inside, and we're going to stitch all the way around this project. Okay. Almost done. We got one more color stop after this one. After everything's kind of tacked down, I start peeling off tape because I just don't want that tape getting caught on my presser foot and causing problems. All right, last color stop. We're going to take the hoop off the machine. We're going to flip it over to the back side, and we're going to cover up. We got to put our lining on. Okay? So lining goes right side down. If you were using fabric with a right side, it would be right sides together. There's no right or wrong to this. So I'm going to lay this right sides together here. I'm going to put some tape on it to make sure it stays in place. And we are going to stitch this. This is going to stitch around 3 sides, but it is going to leave a hole in the bottom of the bag. Okay, so don't panic when you see it run and it doesn't cover here. This is how we're going to flip the bag right side out. Okay, so we're going to return the hoop to the machine. We want to make sure that when we do this that we don't get that lining folded over or anything like that, which is why we tape everything down. And then we're going to start the machine. Once our design is finished here, we're going to take it all out of the hoop and we're going to trim 1/4 inch away from that seam stitching on 3 sides. Don't do any trimming down here at the bottom where your hole is left for turning. I want to show you how I do that one. Design is finished, so hoop off, project out of the hoop. You can see there's where the hole is at, okay? I am going to trim the top and the 2 sides at 1/4 inch away from that stitching line. I'm gonna okay. And then the bottom edge I'm going to trim just a tad different. I'm still going to trim 1/4 inch away from this, where this seam is at, but I don't want to go all the way across. I actually want to stop right where that seam ends because I want to leave a larger seam allowance where we are going to turn this right side out with, okay? Because if I give myself more of a seam allowance there, I can get a prettier turn when a prettier finish when I'm trying to fold that raw edge in, okay? Off a little bit right there. Okay, you can leave that really as big as you want. I just wanted to get rid of the stabilizer. But that's going to give me more fabric to be able to turn in and tuck versus trying to work with that little 1/4 inch. And before we do any trimming, I'm going to clip corners, and I'm also going to grade my corner. So grading your corner, you start at the corner and work your way out, thinning the seam allowance basically. I want to get rid of the bulk that I'm going to try to cram into that corner. Not only do we want to get rid of the corner off this corner, but when you flip this right side out, you're still cramming all of this into that little corner. So that's why we grade the corners as well, so that we have less being crammed into the corner, if that makes sense. I'm not doing too good of a job here today talking and and doing at the same time. So here's that grading, that slight angle from the corner out, just about 1 inch is all that you need to go. And then I'm going to clean off this area on the desk here so that you can see. Now we're going to turn this project right side out. It is a 2-turn project. So we're going to turn it once, and you're going to be looking at the lining of the bag, and then we will turn it through the zipper. So don't panic when we go to turn this thinking that you did something wrong. Okay? All right. Top, open up the bottom, and start manipulating it. It will take a moment. You may find starting in the bottom corner and the farthest corner away and then pushing through will be your easiest. Okay, this is where everybody starts to panic, is because they're like, oh my gosh, I can't see my design. What did I do wrong? Okay, I'll poke out my corners. So I'm going to grab my point and press here. I like a point and press because it's not a sharp end. I can't poke a hole. I mean, you may be able to poke a hole with the rounded end, but maybe you have superhuman strength here. But I'm going to get this corner. And this corner. Okay. Because the next thing that we need to do is seal this hole up, okay? And if all I had left myself was that 1/4 inch right here, you're gonna be fussing at yourself. So that's why I leave more, because look how much prettier that is, and I didn't even have to try to get that, okay? So I'm going to grab my ironing board here. Now in the instructions, she's going to tell you to hand sew it. Now, if you know me, I ain't hand sewing the inside of this bag. Not going to do it. Okay? So I'm going to give it a press. It's the bottom of my bag. I am going to glue it shut. This here is basically a 1/2 inch piece of double-sided fusible. Soft web, heat and bond, steam a seam, whatever you got. Okay? I'm going to take that, I'm going to put that on the seam allowance in my bag, get it to be to size, and then just like with anything, we're going to iron it so that we can get the glue to adhere to the one side. Okay, so there's my gluey strip. I'm going to peel the paper off so that the glue is stuck. And then I'm going to situate my other piece of fabric, and then I will iron it again, gluing the hole shut. You may want to, before you glue the hole shut, flip the bag out completely, right sides together, so that you can make sure that if you do need to undo something or fix something, you can, but I'm not going to. So we're going to let that cool for a moment. I'm going to trim up. You don't want to turn that. If you glued it shut, you want to give it a moment to cool off or cure, basically, because otherwise if you start fiddling with it too soon, it's not gonna adhere. So let me just trim up some threads. I'm gonna stick my hand in here and I'm gonna unzip this zipper even farther. I'm gonna turn right side out in these corners. And I'm going to have a little bit of tape that I need to tear off. That was holding down my piece. Okay. Trim these threads. All right, and then I'm going to reach in, grab this and turn it right side out through the zipper. Okay, if you need to, you can use your point and press to push out a corner. Okay, we're going to give it a press. There is your bag. Okay, there's the 8x12 bag. 1 second, we're going to talk about the handle. Now, for the strap is way longer than what you need it to be, okay? Because everybody's different. And so you may want to take a tape measure and measure your strap and measure where you want the bag to hit, per se. Okay. And then you're going to add a 3 inches to that. Okay. So that you have room to be able to attach the hardware to this end of the handle. Okay. Because you're going to fold up the end of each strap approximately 1/4 inch. Okay. And then you'll fold it up 1 inch. Okay. And press it. Okay, 1 second. Get the iron back here. Oop. Stop hitting the steam button, Amy. I am so wrapped up in cords here, you guys would laugh at me. All right. So we've got 1/4, and then we have 1 inch. Okay. We're going to take our split ring. We're going to slide it through that. Okay, and then you're going to sew on the sewing machine straight across that. Okay, so for right now, I'm just going to wonder clip it. Now, when I go to do the other end, I want to make sure that I'm folding up the same direction. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I just want to make sure it's going the same direction. So I'm going to 1/4 and then 1 inch. Just make sure they match on each side. Okay. I'm going to stick a pin in that for a second while I get the iron. Okay. And unfold, insert, and pin that. Okay. All right. Let me change the machine real fast. We are gonna switch to just a straight stitch. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. Okay. And I just want to stitch right along that edge of where we are folded up to. So we're just going to stitch right along where that 1/4 inch fold is folded. Now let's see if I can find the foot control. Okay, feed my next one in here. And I'm going to back stitch across them. So there is your one handle. And because it's a split ring, we can open up the split ring and feed it into the tube here. 1 second. I pressed it so well I can't get the, there we go. Come on. Okay, there's one end. And we're going to come over to the other side. Trim my threads here. Okay. Work that all the way around so that it fits into your split ring. Oop, I knew I was going to do that the wrong direction. Telling you. It is not going to be my day. There we go. All right. there it is. We have our rings are on our bag. And our bag is officially complete. So let's, so you can see here he is. Let's flip it around here. And there he is. He's probably even a little longer. I may shorten him up a little bit as well. But there is your fully lined zipper bag ready for, and if you didn't put the zipper tabs on, this is just a zipper pouch. Probably fit a nice, maybe even a Kindle or a smaller piece of electronic could be slid into there as well. Well, I hope everybody had a wonderful afternoon here with me. It is lunchtime in my world. But I hope that you take a moment and be sure to share your Erin's Crossbody from the Kimberbell Digital Designs from October with us. I'd love to see what they all look like, especially if you did them in different color variations. And we look forward to seeing you back here next month for mug rugs, I believe is our project. Thanks, guys. Have a great day, and thanks for hanging in here with me.